Good morning, everyone. I'm Johan. I'm back with another story. And this story is about 12-step people and endless suffering. Let's break it down. I know what some of you are thinking already. Here he goes again, picking on 12-step people, judging 12-step people. Well, no, I'm not. I'm telling you in this video what my observations have been over a 33-year period. And my observations are 12-step people have endless suffering. And they're suffering needlessly. What I'm talking about here is people with 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years going to meetings every day and using them as sounding boards, okay? And my observations have been these people, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, complain about the same thing. My wife, my husband, my kids, my stepchildren, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, the neighbor. What this is called is continued suffering, endless suffering. You are suffering in your life. Let me read you something from the AA book, 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. It's in the foreword. There's no page number. Forward. The 12 steps are a group of principles spiritual in their nature, which, if practiced as a way of life, can expel the obsession to drink and enable the sufferer to become happily and usefully whole. Let me read it again. AA's 12 steps are a group of principles spiritual in their nature, which, if practiced as a way of life, can expel the obsession to drink and enable the sufferer to become happily and usefully whole. Now, if you're coming to meetings all the time and using them as a sounding board and complaining and whining, then you haven't become happily and usefully whole, have you? I would say not. And here's the problem. From my experience, my personal experience of having done that, well, honestly, I had a good sponsor for a long time. He passed away. So if I had a problem, and I mention this in videos, I would speak to him about it immediately. I wouldn't wait till the night meeting to go and complain about an issue I was having with a person, place, or thing. I would call him. He would always come, pick me up, we'd go for a ride and talk about it. And typically he would point out a step to read in the big book or the 12 and 12 that addresses that particular situation. I didn't wait to go to a meeting and complain. Nowadays, things have changed. Yes, I still suffer, but not as much as I used to. Most of my suffering today is the consequences of having a beat up body. You know, didn't take care of it, didn't eat properly, a lot of years just boozed myself close to death, right? So what changed from then till now? Well, I meditate, all right? But before I tell you about my experiences with meditation, I want to read something out of the big book. On page 164, it says this. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. So guess what? All the answers aren't here. And if you're watching this and you've known me for decades and you've heard me say in AA meetings, all the answers are in this book, I retract that statement because they're not. This will get you started. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. And that brings us to this part of the video where I ask you, what is God disclosing to you? Has he ever, or she, has God ever disclosed anything to you? How do you communicate with God? According to this book. Well, when you get to step 11, it says, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him. Prayer and meditation. From my 33 years experience in the 12-step program, or as people like to say, in the rooms, most people don't meditate. As a matter of fact, my first sponsor, let his soul rest in peace, that man was an angel sent to help me end my suffering. He used to say, John, most people don't work the steps. I've heard people 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. They admit it. I don't meditate. I don't meditate. Well, I have to ask, do you have a conscious contact with God then? How are you improving it if you do? My videos are about how I improved my conscious contact with God, which I do every day. It's called spiritual maintenance, meditation. I did a video on it this morning. Let me read this again. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick, or the woman, or people. Ask God in your morning meditation, what can I do to help people who are still sick? Well, if you're not meditating, then you're not asking God, what can I do to help people who are still sick? Okay? Let me read the next part. The answers will come if your own house is in order? Is your own house in order? Or do you still run the meetings whining and complaining about people, places, and things? Is your house in order if you don't meditate? Is your house in order if you don't pray and meditate to improve your conscious contact with God as you understand God? Let me read the next part. The answers will come if your own house is in order, but obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. Let me read that again. The answers will come if your own house is in order, but obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. What are you doing at AA meetings or NA meetings if your own house isn't in order? You're obviously not transmitting to people that you live useful and happily whole, as I read from the foreword in the 12 and 12. What you're transmitting is, I'm suffering and I enjoy suffering. Now, if you're a newcomer, and it talks about it in the 12 and 12 in step 2, about relying on the group as a higher power or your sponsor. It's a temporary thing. Because eventually, let me read the next part. But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right. Capital H, him, God. See to it that your relationship with him is right. And great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. And great fact has capital letters, G, F, great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God. This is what it says next. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give really freely of what you find and join us. Are you still running the show? Yeah. Now, the reason I read the particular passage in the beginning is because this changed my attitude and outlook on life. This helped me conquer, if you will, the ego in certain areas where it comes to character defects and shortcomings, right? Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Well, if all the answers aren't here, and they aren't, this will get you started. And they know only a little. And these first 100 men and women that recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body are speaking to us from the past and saying, God will disclose more to you. What is God disclosing to you? Is your relationship with him right? Do you ask him in the morning meditation how you can help people who are still sick? Do you even meditate? I'll tell you exactly how it started for me. I don't remember what page it's on. You could just Google AA Big Book 4th Dimension, okay? AA Big Book 4th Dimension. Google that. It'll tell you where it's at. It'll say what it says. I think this is more verbatim because I don't remember it exactly. I'm not a big book Nazi. we have been rocketed into a fourth dimension of existence we had never known. And after a meeting, I went up to, I call them the group spokesman, you know, the know-it-all, the one that runs the group. They don't do anything without his or her say-so. I went up to him purposely and said, because we read it at the meeting, what does that mean, rocketed into the fourth dimension, Emery? What does it mean? Oh, it means what it says. You know. And that's when I started my investigations. So I Googled and started reading anything I could find on the fourth dimension, which led me to other areas of topics that were in this book. Meditation. What is meditation? What are the fruits of meditation? What is God consciousness? What does it mean to transcend? Transcendence means you exist and experience above the normal level, what normal people, how they exist and experience. When you transcend, when you have that spiritual awakening, that psychic change, you transcend and exist and experience above the normal level. You also exist and experience above the physical level. It is at that level where you learn to put the ego in check. It is at that level where you understand yourself and you understand other people. You understand how you behave and react. You understand how other people behave and react. You learn about compassion. You learn about just saying, so what? Who cares? Well, that's my wife. I know how she is. Or that's my husband. I know how she is. But you're not doing that. I'll see you in the next video, hopefully. Johan out. Peace.